Now let me get this straight. Put the lime in the coconut.
So, Dr. Tammy, why call it the Naked Doctor?
Well, it's the naked truth about health, wellness, and lifestyle, but it's also fun not to wear clothes in the studio.
Welcome back this week to The Naked Doctor. I'm Dr. Tammy.
And this is Cryssie.
And the title of today's show is Transition.
That was really weird. That was like delicious dish.
Delicious dish.
Awesome.
This is going to be a really fun show.
Yes.
And like the universe totally just provided us this material.
Right. Just handed it to us just now.
It's beautiful.
And we're going to roll with that.
And we're
because
gonna roll with
that's
it.
what we are. We do things real and sometimes by the seat of our pants.
Definitely.
And so we are the guests today.
We're the guests today. We're each other's guests.
It's discussion, and all of you, each of you feel special to know that you are a guest.
I love it. So come with us on this journey.
Yes, this is going to be fantastic. What
So-
a crazy several weeks we've had.
No, it's just breakthrough after breakthrough.
Yeah.
So let's kind of tell what happened this morning a little bit. So
Yes.
we actually had Freddie, who is the retired nurse, wellness coach.
Right. We had plans.
Actually started the show and lost her. And I think something might have happened.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Freddie
but
herself is fine.
Yeah, she's
it's
fine.
the phone that, yeah.
Yeah. So we're
Yes.
going to reschedule that. But it was transition. And
In the
so-
meantime, you and I were having some fantastic conversation just between the two of us and thought, you know what, this will make a great show.
Yeah.
So let's just go with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
And so what happened was when I walked in, I first sat down and I was like, I had a major breakthrough this week. And I can't explain it, but it's like transition, which has always been a challenge for me.
Mm-hmm.
A real struggle has really become not so much so. I mean, I've had so many things that have caused me to need to be flexible, and it's just like in the chaos of the storm, I don't know where this peace has come from. And kind of like I was telling you before we started, it's like the noise in my head. I don't want to say voices in my head.
The voices
and lock me up.
that normally tell me.
But the noise, the just the self-talk, the negativity, the noise of all that, just like it got quiet.
Fantastic.
And I can't explain it. It's just absolutely wonderful. And, you know, it wasn't one thing. It wasn't like I just went to the mountaintop or did ayahuasca or something like that. And it was just like, finally, at almost 50 years old, I'm transitioning. Okay.
Yeah. And that's such a and that's such a necessary thing. And that's what we
is.
started talking about. If you are putting your desires out there and you know that, and this is one of the things that I've had to focus on, when I envision the person that I want to be, when someone says, what do you want out of life? And I say, I want to be happy, I want to be joyful, I want to follow my passion or my curiosity or however you want to put that. What does that look like for you? And so many women have trouble actually being able to describe that because it's been such a far away, unattainable, ethereal sort of I just want to be happy. I just want to be happy. That when you start solidifying that and saying, what does that look like for me? How do I define success for myself? What is a happy, healthy family? What is my ideal body? And then I've been able just recently discovering that I can really think about myself as who is that woman? What does she like to do? What does her day look like? What clothes is she going to wear? How is she going to carry herself? and start visualizing myself as moving towards that. Now that's going to involve change. That's going to involve transition. That's not me on exactly my habits right now. Do I have the habits of somebody that weighs quite a bit less than I do? Do I have the habits of someone that exercises regularly? Do I have the habits of someone who's a successful career person? Am I meeting those goals? What does that look like? That's going to involve some change for me. That's going to involve some transition. And part of that is learning how to make those transitions as gracefully as possible. Mm-hmm. Because as we said, those changes are going to take place. It can be easy or it can be hard. And even though in your mind you may have it pathed out, well, it's going to look just like this. I'm going to easily slide over here and do this. And then everybody's just going to show up at my door and do everything I want them to do. And then I will effortlessly lose 50 pounds. And then yay! And we know that the real way the universe paths things is nothing like the way that we see it. And we have to be flexible, and we have to be able to make those changes. And so I am super, super proud of you that you're talking about how that's been a breakthrough for you, because that stuff's hard.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we say that. That stuff's getting easier because we can see it now. We have that different perspective where we can step back and look at the experience, even that we've just had in the last month and a half, and look at it and say, look at what I learned from that. I just went through something that was a little tough. I came out better on the end of it. I can clearly see how I behaved, what I want to change, what I want to do different. And then I can look forward and say, okay, when I encounter this again or something similar to it, I'm going to remember to have the faith that everything's working in my favor, that everything's going to be okay, and I can move through it with grace. And that's what I want to attain to. That's that woman that I want to be, who moves through challenges with grace, constantly growing towards what I know is the potential within myself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love your story. Can you share it with us about
Yes.
your work situation? I mean, I just think that's so powerful.
I, as usual, had a beautiful plan.
And as usual.
No, I like to have
plan.
plans. I like to feel like I'm moving towards,
It
and
makes you
I'm,
feel in
exactly.
control
And people like to have goals, and I think that's really fantastic and wonderful. And the plan was that I was going to get my insurance license and go to work for a friend of mine who was purchasing an agency, and this was going to be great. And he specifically requested, he came to me and said, would you come to work for me? I think you're professional. I think you'll be perfect for this. Yes, this is great. And the plan began to pan out. And we were in the process of setting up the office, and I had just resigned from my job in order to be able to take this on with my friend. Okay, so this is great. It's gonna be awesome. And at the very last minute, some paperwork fell through, and that's all it took, and the whole thing collapsed. And I just went, what?
And you had spent some money,
Yes, I had invested money.
Your license
I had
back.
invested time. I had quit a job. I mean, it was like. And then that moment, where the coyote runs off the cliff, and it takes him a minute to realize
he's not on
he's
ground
no longer
anymore.
on the ground.
He hasn't quite fallen yet.
I got that same panic. I absolutely was like, what have I done? I am a grown adult. This is not the time. This doesn't happen to me anymore. And I threw a fit inside emotionally like a toddler.
You went to your emotional age,
I
not your
curled
chronological
right up in a
age.
ball and went, because it's not. Now, I had very supportive and loving people around me who were looking me in the eye and going, this is going to be okay. This is not your fault. It's not as if I'm going to randomly make a crazy decision. No, this is going to be all right. But in the moment, it didn't matter, because I immediately, and this is interesting, felt resonating within myself every other time in my past where I had felt like a rug had gotten pulled out from under me, where I felt like, oh my God, I just made a terrible decision, where I felt that I had been judged by others for making poor mistakes. Like all of a sudden, it was like when you strum that string that's tuned to an E, and all other strings that are also tuned to E begin to hum.
Yeah.
And I realized within myself, this is a much heavier reaction. This is a reaction to more than just what's on the surface.
It always is.
Yes.
It's never about what you're upset about.
I've never been able to recognize that so clearly before. And this is part of this process that we're going through when people talk about enlightenment, and they talk about becoming more open-minded, and they talk about that view from maybe another dimensional view. These are those nitty-gritty, down-to-earth, why we are learning this stuff in the first place, to be able to apply it to our everyday lives and make these transitional changes, okay? So I know it's fun to talk about the spiritual stuff and all of that, but when it really comes down to it, This is where we take
the rubber meets
and
the road.
This is making me like so goosebumpy right now,
know.
because I feel like this is so true. This is where we take all of that stuff and we are able to funnel it into our physical experience. So it's a combination now of this journey that I'm walking through, these experiences that I'm having, these relationships and decisions and seeking that joy, and being able to combine this higher spiritual view of the big picture, bigger picture, because I don't think our brains can handle the big picture.
We're too
but
filtered out.
The bigger picture, and being able to bring that down and improve and enrich and process this physical journey that we're moving through. This is what we've asked for,
An
Tammy.
experience.
This is it.
This is it.
This is where we can pull back and go, what the? Okay, wait. That was mine. I was like, okay, this sucks. I'm feeling really bad.
That's what
I
I'm doing.
totally understand that I'm feeling more than I should. I grabbed my fiance and told him, I said, honey, I'm sorry. I apologize for how I've acted the last couple of days, curling up in a ball and being a weenie about all of this. And I told him, this is about more than what I'm experiencing right now. This is involving periods of my life when you weren't with me. Just understand, I've got it. I've got it. I see what I've done. I'm going to move forward through this. I'm going to work proactively. I'm going to take action. I'm not someone that believes, I'm just going to lay here and let God do it because I can't deal. That's not it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to relax and take inspired action from a place of forward thinking instead of a place of fear. Every time, let me just say this, and everybody really listen to this. Every time you make a decision from a place of fear, it's not going to turn out good for you.
Never.
It just isn't. Any time that you're like so contracted and think, okay, well, I don't have any choice now, I have to do this, it's not going to work out the way you want it to. And so I deliberately made myself the next day start it like it was a clean slate. I'm going to enjoy my unemployment. If I'm not going to be working for a couple of weeks and no, I'm not sure where I'm going to wind up, I'm going to start enjoying my day. I'm going to get up a little earlier and make breakfast for my kids. I'm going to take them to school, and then I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go shopping. I'm going to relax and cook dinner for my family, spend some time with my dogs, which I never really get to do, and I'm going to start enjoying my days. And that's when things really turned around.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, and I think we're being told, are we, that we're supposed to wrap this up?
I wasn't
We're
even,
gonna
I
go
got
to
so into it.
commercial.
I wasn't even paying
But this will be perfect, because when we come back, we'll talk about that next step, and we'll talk about your next steps and some of the other insights that we've had in this last month.
Yeah, very exciting. All right, hang tight. We'll be right back with the Naked Doctor. Hi, welcome back to the Naked Doctor. I'm Dr. Tammy.
And this is Cryssie.
And we are having an absolutely fabulous show
Yes,
today.
this is such a good show.
I'm so excited.
I'm enjoying this so much.
We're calling this
Partly because I get to talk so much. I love talking. Why are you in radio? Because I really like to talk.
I love to talk. Why is this the Naked Doctor? Because we really like to be naked.
Because we really like to be naked. You know, it's natural.
We tell the naked truth. And in fact, we were just talking on break about some experiences we've had, and that not everyone's ready for this message. So I just want to put the little disclaimer out there,
right,
that we are just going to go full throttle. We are going to talk about our experiences.
We are brutally honest.
We are brutally honest. We're going to be totally naked about what we know, and it's changed our lives.
It really has.
You know, if you are all pent up and constricted and you're not ready to hear this message, then I suggest you just turn off right now.
That doesn't hurt anybody's feelings.
It's okay.
And everyone is in a different place. I mean, absolutely. But at some point, you have to remember that you yourself represent a lot more than just you individually sitting here. If there's someone that's having a struggle, you're not the only one having that struggle. No. So Tammy and I both seem to be the type of people that, okay, let's say we were all standing in a house and the house was on fire and everybody was just standing around thinking, yeah, somebody's probably already called the authorities. We're good. Don't worry. And Tammy and I are always those people that jump forward and go, hey, I am calling the fire department right now because nobody else seems to be doing anything. So we know that we aren't the only women that have these struggles. We aren't the only people that are having these experiences. So we're reaching out to those other ones that resonate with this same message to say, yeah, you know what? I'm coming to a time in my life where I'm really getting a clear picture of how my life has progressed to this point. I'm understanding that I can learn these lessons and that I can move forward and make my life better. And in a sense, also make the world better, because when we lift ourselves up, we lift others with us. The change is much bigger than what you think.
And the threads are so thin that hold us all together.
Okay, so this will transition me into my story, okay?
Yeah. So I was just going to say, whoever's out there listening is listening because they need to hear this today.
Absolutely.
The threads are so thin.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's like the 7 degrees of kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So in the sense now, I come to that realization that I need to improve my attitude about what's happening to me, that everything's going to be taken care of. The universe is going to catch me. It may not look like what I had envisioned, but it could move forward into something even better. And a name kept coming up. So here now I'm a licensed insurance agent, but I have no agency to go to. I'm just free floating. And this name kept coming up of someone that was really, really successful in the Bentonville area. Her name is Shelley Parson. And her name had come up when we had been discussing practices of very successful agencies. There was her name. And then also you and I had a discussion, because through all this process, we had recorded a radio show, and your husband, Tammy, even mentioned, you know who you got to go work for? That Shelley Parson lady. And I was like, wow, there's her name again. That's interesting. And
no coincidence. You just got to get
that
that out of your head.
You just got to. So I thought, well, that's cool, because I had thought, even when I was going into starting that business with a friend of mine, that she would be someone to talk to share best practices. Because, you know, you always want to find that mentor. You got to find that person. So then I realized, well, you know what? I've invested this money. I've invested this time. I have this licensing. I'm going to pursue that. I'm going to see if there's another agency that's got something open for me. Called their district office, started talking to them. And as soon as I got off the phone with them, I shut my browser and thought, you know, maybe I should just do a quick little job search just to see what else is out there, because you never know. Maybe I'll have to work at a McDonald's in between or something. And sure enough, what pops up, but that Shelley Parson is looking for a member of her team, not in that role, but she's looking to add another member to her team. And so I just immediately picked up the phone and gave them a call and told my story. I thought, you know, what's better than to just be brutally honest? And I said,
real.
Absolutely, I've got to be real about this. And I said, I have everything lined out. I had a job ready to go, and that fell through at the last minute. I am now unemployed. I have a family to support. You are not going to find anyone more motivated than I am right at this moment. And I was able to get in and have a conversation with her. And fast forward, I am now working at her agency. And I'm telling you, I am exactly where I was supposed to be. It is a fantastic atmosphere. She is a wonderful mentor. She is setting everyone up for success. We have plans. We have goals. She's going to be building a new office soon. This is the kind of growth that I was looking for. This is the kind of, and now I look back at that 6-8 week process where I had myself so bound up for a little bit, and I can look back and go, thank you. Thank you for pulling me through this. Thank you for helping me to open my eyes and see where I was really supposed to be going. Yes, that transition was difficult for me, but it all went exactly where it was supposed to go. The only thing that made me uncomfortable was myself. The only part that really
say that
made
again. Say that again.
The only one who was inflicting any pain upon me was me.
Yeah.
Because there for a moment, I was the coyote who was floating out there with nothing underneath, and I panicked.
And feeling all the pain of all the disappointments.
And honestly, I didn't even drop 2-3 feet, and I was caught. Seriously. It was like, whoops, hey, I got you. Don't worry about this. I got you. And that feels so good. And I can look back on that and share that experience. And I did, I looked at Aaron and I apologized to him for behaving the way that I had. And he said, honey, this is the way life is. Things change. I knew you had this. And I was like, wow, he had more faith in me than I had in myself in that moment. But these are the things that we talk about learning. This is how you put the rubber to the road. And we've learned enlightenment does not come in one big flash lightning bolt where you go from not knowing anything to suddenly knowing all the secrets of the universe. It is this slow moving forward process, the blossoming of the flower that takes that pressure, that energy over time to build you into what you want to be. And this isn't the end of it. This is by no means the end.
And so the question comes up, what are you going to do the next time that
now that I know
hits
this,
you?
Yes. And okay, if this is how this is going to go, and the universe was able to bring me not only what I wanted, but even better, like with extra icing and a little cherry on top, more of what I wanted. Wow. What if the goals that I have in mind are just a tip of the iceberg of what the universe really wants to bring me? So I really better define that in a clear way and start seeing myself as that, because this was my next issue. Now that I have achieved a lot of things in my life that were just goals before, and I had to list that the other day. I was like, I am a mother, and I am a business professional, and I also have a master's degree, and I'm a radio co-host, which is awesome, and then I'm also a performer. I sing and perform on a regular basis.
Which you have some new gigs coming up at Krabby's.
Fantastic list.
I'm so excited.
If you had looked at me when I was like a young teenager and gone, okay, these are all these things that you're going to accomplish, and this is just going to be the beginning when you get rolling, I'd be like, wow, this is awesome. So I have to stop and take note of that and pat myself on the back for that. Those are accomplishments. Those are things I've always wanted to do. I'm there. Boy, that's a new thing when you realize you're there. How do I resonate in that, relax in that, realize that the universe has already brought so much to me that I've always wanted, and realize that I don't have to constantly be going, yes, but I'll really be happy when I get over there, because that's not really what it is. It's relaxing into that I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. I am enough. I am enjoying that joy now. I am experiencing that healthier body now.
I am enough.
I am enough.
That is the whole crux of, I think, my transition.
Yeah.
Was just, I am enough.
And everything on top of this will just be icing and cherry and sprinkles that make it even better. But it's perfect right now. That's huge. How do you relax into that? And my moment was, I was standing on a deck. It was right after I was in Eureka Springs and Aaron had proposed to me, and I was standing on this deck looking out over the lake with all these trees and beautiful houses. And I was a little tense because I thought, oh man, I've always wanted to live in a place like this. I've always wanted to look out and have a view like this. And in my mind, I started thinking, I wonder if we could ever buy a house on the lake. I wonder if I could ever make enough money to buy a house on the lake. And then this voice came in and said, you're there right now. And I was like, oh, I am. And here I'm sitting here going, how could I have this view every day? How could I have this view going forward? And you have this view right now. And I just had to relax into the fact that, oh, I am. I do have this gorgeous lake in front of me and these trees and the sun's going down and the birds. And right at that moment, this deer comes up from under the deck to feed it. And I was like, this is such a perfect moment. And for a second, my brain had started running the program saying, how can we make this better and more awesome and going forward? And I had forgotten to enjoy the moment that I had. And so that needs to be part of our everyday practice, is understanding you have it right now.
And right now is all there is.
Yeah, that's really all you've got. So enjoy it. And I will bring you more of that enjoyment. Just relax.
Oh, we gotta relax and take a break.
Yes.
I just kind of breathe into that and just
take a
think
deep
about
breath.
that for a minute. And we're gonna take a little break, and we'll be right back with the Naked Doctor. Hi, welcome back to the Naked Doctor. I'm Dr. Tammy.
And this is Cryssie.
And today we are talking about transitions. And flowing through them with grace and authenticity and integrity and just...
And an open mind.
Beauty, open mind.
Learning.
You know, part of this conversation, part of the resonation and the vibration in it is still streamed with a little bit of fear, because the very strict religious upbringing that I went through and experienced
we both did.
still calls very tightly. And so I think for people to hear this message and for us to use the terminology universe, and to me, I use the term universe because I believe in God with every part of my being. I believe God is much bigger. My mom used to say when I was little, I think we're all going to be very surprised when we croak or when we pass to the other side.
Because it's nothing.
She had
like
no conception of what God was, even though my dad was like this hellfire brimstone and teaching fear and control. She always said, we're going to be so surprised. She was always so open-minded about it, and so I had that contrast between the two of them. And so even when I share the message and I try to express that I believe that God is so much bigger than this little man and, a white beard. And, it's funny because I just asked my son Donnie this week, he's 11, and I asked him, we were having this big conversation. I mean, very big for an 11-year-old about universe and why we're here and our purpose. And it's so beautiful because he's so open to it. And I said, what do you think God looks like? And he said, an old man with long gray hair that goes down to his feet, and he's wearing braided sandals and, the white robe and everything, and his eyes are light. And I'm like, I want you to draw that picture in school for me. And I think you probably will. But I told him, I said, that is an image, that is a filter that we have. It's a man-made image that is so much smaller than what God is.
Right.
And God does not judge. I truly believe that. And so many of our conversations that I have with him, which goes very much against the religious and control and fear background that I have, is that God is love. God is not going to condemn you to hellfire and brimstone. There is no such thing. And I know that's just going to bristle so many people that are hearing this, but the people who really need to hear this are going to hear it, and they're going to understand that my heart says this with nothing but love, that the fear and control that we've experienced that have kept us so small and so in the box. Again, that's why I'm a doctor that's outside the box, and I do integrative medicine. And that's why we spread this message, is because the box is so small and the box is too tight. It's like the birth canal. We're coming through the birth canal.
Absolutely.
We're done with that. And so...
And it's a self-imposed box.
It is a self-imposed box.
Yeah.
And it's just so small and so tight. And I think that's what my transition has been about. And my struggle with transition has been because every force that works to make us grow also, I think, works in the opposite direction. Just sometimes we're exactly where we're supposed to be, but we have to appreciate that box and where we've been so that we can grow through that box sometimes. And so I truly believe that this life is just an experience that we've had many, many times, that we'll have many, many more times.
Yeah.
And we're just here to kind of figure something out and get it right. So my experience this week has been a huge amount of transition, and kind of like I was telling you before the show, and it really makes my heart just swell to think this thought that the noise has quieted. The self-talk, the negative self-talk that you're not good enough, I am enough.
Yeah.
And all of that has just got quiet. And I don't know what it feels like to not have all those voices in my head. And I still think very productively and how I want my goals to move forward. But I love what you said. I'm here right now. And even through all the transition, I'm accomplished, and, just here doing this show is such a blessing and a privilege, and sharing with the people that I get to share with every day, just a heart of gratitude is just amazing. So, my transition has been that that I closed my office down. I, in good faith, did everything kind of like you did.
Yeah.
Sold everything that I had in my medical practice, 2 exam tables and all of the equipment, a laser machine, the whole inventory, the needles, the syringes, everything that kind of kept me anchored to who I was. I completely let go of all that and took the leap and went to this new place. And within 4 months, realized that their financial solvency, and they were opening clinics faster than they could afford to. They had clinics all over Tulsa and Dallas and all these different places. closed their doors, literally closed their doors. And I was without a job and without a clinic.
Wow.
So, I just kind of picked myself up and I found just a little port in a storm, to quote, hang my shingle, which I've been in this place a few other times in my life. One other time it happened back when I was back in Mountain Home when I first moved home to pay off my student loans, kind of found myself in a similar situation. And everything worked out perfectly. I ended up with my own clinic that was paid off, my student loans paid off. And I mean, it was just,
wow.
Everything was better than I could have possibly imagined. But I did that same thing that you did. I went into that emotional age, not my chronological age, which is about 5.
Yes.
And it had my little fits and my come aparts and
it's not what I wanted.
It's not what I wanted. And it's always so stinking better. So just recently, Freddie, who was going to be on the show today, which I didn't work out, we're going to have her next week, and she's written a new book, and she's just doing so much to help people. But I reached out to her, and she's in a health food store there in Rogers, the old Rogers health food store. It's called Vitamins and Vittles now. And she said, come hang out with me. And I said, great. And so,
because first of all, hanging out with Freddie is like, it's going to uplift you.
Oh,
I mean,
it
just
does.
Anytime
Every day
you get that
her.
Invitation, you should take it because you'll feel better.
Yeah, every day I see her, she just hugs me and lifts me up. And when looking back, like you had to apologize to Aaron, I had to apologize to my brother because my brother had kind of supplied that port in the storm where I was hanging my shingle. And then that didn't really work out, and it wasn't his fault at all. It was the universe moving me in this direction.
Like, no, this isn't it yet. Keep going.
But what did I do? I completely had to come apart. I do this thing where I shut down and I just, I go in my ball and I'm like, don't talk to me. This is all your fault. And, I'm just being nasty. And so I had to call him back later and apologize. And I'm like, the universe just caught me again. Here's Freddie, and she's got this space for me. And it's a wonderful, warm, cozy little space. And it's been absolutely perfect. And, God has just lined everything up. And, when I walked off my little cliff and I realized there was nothing under me, it really, the tree or the ledge or whatever that comes out to catch you is getting closer and closer.
Yes, it's less of a drop every time.
It's less of a drop every single time.
But is it because we are able to relax for a moment and go, yeah, the tree's coming. I just need to, I had my little fit. I had my little freak out. My eyes bugged out of my head for a minute, but the tree will be there. And then it shows up. Like, we prolong our discomfort in our freak out.
We do.
Because when you're in that ball of freak out, you're not going to be catchable. Like, as long as you're going, no, as long as you're doing the running in the sky to try to stay in one place. God is his hand is like 3 feet under going, if you stop freaking out, I got you. Boop. Okay. Sorry about that. Old habits. That's exactly what that is.
It is.
That's exactly what that is. So you're the only one that can prolong that discomfort.
Yeah. And since I've already put the disclaimer out there that this is a big conversation, bigger than you might have ever heard or even thought of before, or maybe you're already on this journey and this is completely resonating and vibrating with you, is that this week I had a very interesting thing happen. And, again, there's no coincidences. The threads are very thin. And my husband had talked with a business colleague who had recommended another business colleague who recommended another lady who's a health and wellness coach and a spiritual healer. And one of the interesting things that she does is something called accessing or reading your Akashic records. Now, for people who, aren't ready for this message, this is the time to turn this off right now because you cannot hear this.
That's okay.
But
we're not trying to change anyone's mind.
No, we're not. We're not trying to.
We're not evangelizing. But we're saying, hey, if you happen to be in the same place we are, here's a little guidebook. You're not alone.
This is what happened.
Yeah.
So anyway, I sat down with her for an hour. She's in Florida, and she said a prayer, which was, and her belief is that this access that God wants us to have, that our team, like we talked about, on the other side, the not here, the there, whatever you want to call it, the non-physical, are all a team that are pulling for us every single second of the day.
Yeah.
And the first thing that she said to me was she started laughing. And I'm like, why is this woman laughing? Is this woman crazy?
Yeah. What have I done?
And she said, oh my gosh, she said, the first thing that I want you to know is that your team, your energy source, your group of energy and, you know, your healers and love work, light workers on the other side want you to have fun. We are laughing because this is your joy. This is your time in your life. We want you to move into your joy.
That's so cool.
Anyway, they're saying it's time for a break, so I'm going to talk about
Lord.
that story just a little bit. So hang tight, and we'll be right back with the Naked Doctor. And welcome back to the Naked Doctor. Dr. Tammy here.
And this is Cryssie.
And this is just a beautiful, beautiful conversation.
Yeah, this is great.
You know, it started with transition, but it's really about growth and love and development and healing and becoming who you really are. Mm-hmm. So I was talking about my Akashic record reading, and the interesting thing was, you know, it just started off with, where's your joy? You know, we know that you are a joyful person, and you know, and I just immediately started crying. This woman's laughing, and she's like bringing all this energy of joy to the table and fun. And I'm like, I immediately just started crying, and I'm like, wow, I've lost my joy. I've been so scared. I haven't had faith. I haven't trusted. And she said, you know, what your team wants you to know is that you are joy. And about a year ago, I had thought about starting this project called Project Fun, which was just teaching people to find their joy through self-discovery. And I developed a whole bunch of different stuff that was like self-drawings and, you know, and just about having fun and laughing. And I had all these thoughts. And so I put myself out there for one workshop series, and only 2 people signed up, which I should have just done it anyway with those 2 people.
Yeah, you can have fun with 2
people. I got
people.
totally shut down, and I thought, nobody wants this.
Yeah.
But 2 people were like, you know, crazy wanting it. And so I shut it down. And so I told her, I'm like, I don't know what my joy is, and I don't know what my passion is and what I'm supposed to be doing. And I know I'm doing stuff, but it doesn't feel right. And she's like, you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And in that moment, I knew that I was supposed to be finding my joy and helping other people find my joy.
Yeah.
And one of the things I struggle with is feeling authentic, not feeling like an imposter.
Yeah.
And so, you know, one of those things is that, how can I teach other people joy when I don't have my joy myself?
Right.
And I realized in that moment, I do have my joy. It is right there. It is
all
right
the
there all the time.
And being authentic is being authentic. And no one expects that perfection is authentic. Really, Tammy, if you came to me and you were like, everything is absolutely perfect and I know all the answers to the universe, I don't think I would feel that as authentic.
No.
And I'm coming to understand that because as I go through my process, and I've had close friends that I have shared these experiences with, and I'm usually able to help them tune in and untangle some of their own energy. And they always say, oh, I feel so much better after I've hung out with you for a little while, even if it just makes me smile. And then I would think, well, you know, I'd like to think that I'm someone who can coach somebody through that. I like to think that I can give them some of my insights in a teaching, in an educate. I come from a long line of educators, so that would make sense if I had that energy. However, in the back of my mind, I'm always like, yeah, well, you know, I don't have this down perfect either, so I don't think I can really talk to it. When in reality, if you're experiencing it, you are exactly the person who should be talking to it, because you're able to easily put into words. And I think that's what another thing that you and I are good at. We're able to take these things apart and put them into words in a way that other people can understand them easily. I think that's what we're good at doing, is taking these very esoteric, out there, touchy-feely ideas and being able to distill them down and saying, you know what I figured out? It comes down to this. And have someone else with that little light in their eyes go, oh, okay. And they realize they're not the only ones going through this. They are also in a place in their life where they're trying to apply the lessons they've learned. Why isn't it getting better? Why can't I find my joy? You know? So I'm super, super proud of you, Tammy. I think this has been a great a great time for both of us.
Yeah.
So the Akashic Record lady, how did you feel about that process?
It was very cool. And, people go into that kind of thinking they're like going to get a psychic reading.
Right.
Like, tell me my future. Tell me what's going to happen.
Tell me what I'm going to do for the,
And it's not about that at all. And I love, can you kind of tell that what you talked about on break about like the picture? Because I think that's really
when someone
powerful.
talks about Akashic Records and they talk about looking at their lives from another dimension, this is the way that I have been, I get insights, and this is one of the insights that helped me understand that. If I took pictures of you once every second for your entire life from birth to death, think about how many 4x6 glossies you would have of yourself, all right? And you could stack those up, and that stack could represent your entire life. Now, if I reach into one of those photos and I hold that up and I examine it, am I really going to be able to tell who you are from that one photo? That one photo was just one instant of your life, but that whole stack represents your entire life experience. Now let's pull that out one level, and let's say that each one of those pictures actually represents an entire lifetime from birth to death. That one photo is your entire experience as Tammy from birth to death. But when I look at that entire stack, that's all of the lifetimes that the soul and love energy that is Tammy has experienced overall. So your Akashic Record is the ability to be able to review all of that information at once and to be able to see what kind of theme is coming through all of these lifetimes. And when we talk about viewing our lives from a different dimension, that's that same... think about how much experience is in there. Think about how much knowledge is in there. Think about how much joy. Now, all right, take this lesson real quick. When I talked about plucking the string, and I pluck the E and all of the strings that are tuned to E, Tammy, right now you find that joy. You pluck that string and resonate with joy. What happens to everything that is tuned to joy throughout your entire Akashic experience? Wow. Think about that for a minute. You're doing more than just making yourself feel good in a moment. You are helping resonate that joy throughout all of creation. And that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. What a great lesson for today. Sorry, that got me choked up, guys. That was really nice.
Oh, wow. That's big.
Yeah.
It's huge.
So what do you choose to resonate to?
Joy.
What do you choose to bring up?
Absolutely joy.
Yeah. Make
joy.
that choice every day. It's more than just you.
Oh, that was a great show this week, and they're saying it's time. It went by so fast. I love it. I love it.
Fun.
Thank you, everyone out there. Please find your joy. Find something that you resonate with.
Yes.
Have that faith that your team has got you. Your team loves you. Your team wants you to succeed and to experience the good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly just the beautiful and the joy. So have a wonderful, blessed week. We love you very much.
We love all of you. Thanks so much, guys.
She called the doctor, woke him up and said, "Doctor, ain't there